Thank you. Great to be here today where truly we are in the land of the free and the home of the brave. It should give great comfort to people in this area that there are so many like you who care about personal liberty, personal freedom, and the choice to be vaccinated or not. Now, I oppose vaccination passports and mandates. There are bills that I'll be signing on to which specifies that it is unlawful for any employer to require any employee or applicant for employment to receive a vaccination as a condition for employment. Also, this bill prohibits school districts from requiring masks as well as other topics. Now, let me say, thank you. There are a lot of bills coming forward on these topics, and many of us will be signing on to them. Glenn has one on vaccinations. Senator Jensen, through Representative Franzen, has a bill on sanctuary states, making this a sanctuary state free from vaccination and mask mandates. So these bills are coming forward. It's between sessions right now, so we can't officially become co-authors on many of them, but when the time comes, there'll be a lot of us lining up, I know, from our House Republican caucus to support these pieces of legislation because they are very, very important. So, we have a real task ahead of us to stop this from happening, to make sure that people have individual rights to make decisions for themselves about their own health care. We have to be able to protect this, and it's not going to be an easy thing to do. Right now, we don't have the votes to pass a lot of these bills through the House of Representatives. But we're going to fight, we're going to make our voices heard, we're going to do the best we can, and then we have another election, and let's make sure that the people of this district and of Minnesota understand that you're not going to lie down and let this happen to
you. For diagnosis of viral disease and to cycle it 45 times to where even Tony Fauci says all we're doing is identifying dead nucleotides. We had the New York Times tell us that in one region of New England, when they had 1,000 people told that they had COVID-19, the fact of the matter was 850 of them were probably false positives. Now you've got fear stuck into place, and it's going to make us difficult to analyze things for ourselves because we all want to take care of grandma. That's what happened. So then what do you do next? You've got to accuse someone. You've got to find some sort of scapegoat. And that's where I came in. I swear to you, I must be the most investigated doctor in Minnesota. And it's not an honor I strove for. Then what comes next? After you do that, you have to ridicule people. You have to massage the media. When you do that, you have fear firmly implanted. It didn't have to be this way. Do you remember Tylenol in 1982 when 7 people died of cyanide-laced Tylenol? McNeil was the company that made the product. Johnson & Johnson was the parent company. Do you know what they did? They owned it. They were transparent. They said, we're going to cover this. This is on us. They did everything right to the point where many colleges will hold that response level up as a model. Let's turn to COVID-19. Let's turn to February and March. Do you remember what happened? Dr. Fauci, Dr. Osterholm, don't wear masks. Don't take them away from the healthcare workers who need them. You don't need to wear masks anyway. For the last 19 years, we've had data accumulated ever since SARS-CoV-1 came by in 2002. Masks don't work for small 0.1 micron RNA respiratory viruses. That's what we were told. But by June, they've gotten religion. Wear masks. And by the way, if a lockdown can be done for 4 weeks, let's go for 12 weeks. Do you remember the lockdown? Two things, two goalposts. Flatten the curve. Don't overwhelm the healthcare facilities. We did that. What happened? We're going to extend the lockdown. Let's talk briefly about lockdowns. Do you remember the first one? Some of you folks out there were wearing your hair a whole lot longer because you couldn't get a haircut during the first lockdown. But the second one, in November of 2020, it was okay to have a haircut. Was it science? Did Dr. Fauci have an epiphany? Why couldn't they have a haircut? That was backroom political deals. And you folks are sick and tired of it. In May of 2020, we'd already had hundreds of thousands of people have COVID and recovered. We had too many deaths. Part of the reason we had deaths is because this was uncharted territory. We thought that ventilators might be a part of saving people's lives, but honestly, it wasn't. We increased our fatality rate on ventilators from 40% to 80%. We should have learned from that, but we didn't. We killed too many people with ventilators. We should also have learned from the East Coast that it didn't make sense to pipeline active COVID-19 patients back into nursing homes. Nursing homes should have been allowed to test patients before they had to readmit them back into their nursing home, but they weren't. We did not need to make that mistake, but we did. That was the problem. We kept repeating the same mistake over and over again. You're hearing those honks because those are people that feel just the way you do. They like the government. I'm going to tell you that my honk is a lot different than my Toyotas. But that's what happened. A year ago, people who had the disease and naturally recovered, there was discussion about should we have some sort of a natural immunity passport? And people spoke vociferously against that. They said, no, that would be wrong, that would be immoral, that would be unethical. Fast forward a year later. Not only were they willing to go forward with passports, but now they said, those people that a year ago, those nurses who put their lives on the line, those nurses who we thought, well, maybe they could go work in the nursing homes because we have too much disease there and they're already immune. This time around, they don't count. It's unvaccinated or vaccinated. When they did that, they went totally against the way McNeil responded to the Tylenol crisis in 1982. When we started talking about immunity not counting, even though someone who had the disease had 20 times better immunity than someone who had the two-step Pfizer, they were losing us. They lost our trust. They broke the trust. And this isn't to speak against vaccines. This group of people here isn't anti-vaxxers. We are for health freedom. That's what we're here for. If you have breast cancer, or you have prostate cancer, and I lay out 3 different treatment options for you, you would not want the government saying, this is your option, this is your option. You would want to make that choice. You would want to make that choice, and I would want you to make that choice. When we do the vaccine, we are looking for a specific immune response. Please, friends, don't think of a vaccine like a shot of penicillin for strep throat. Penicillin in the butt for strep throat is not what we're getting with a vaccine or a chemotherapy treatment for breast cancer or a chemotherapy treatment for prostate cancer. These things, these vaccines, these chemotherapy treatments need an immune response that helps the patient cure. That's why we cannot have our health freedom taken away from us. We get to choose. Benjamin Rush was a doctor in the 1770s who signed the Declaration of Independence. And he said at that time, we need a health freedom amendment because if we don't, there may come a day where we wish we did. Fast forward 200 years. Dwight Eisenhower is leaving our nation after serving 2 terms as president. And what did he say? He said something like this: there may come a day where our public policy is held captive to a technological and scientific elite. Are we not living through that? Are we not seeing a technological elite shut you down if you speak a contrarian narrative? Are we not seeing a scientific elite who's not taking care of patients in the trenches? Unelected bureaucrats telling us whatever they want to tell us is the flavor of the day? When Tony Fauci said that herd immunity would take place at 60%, and then later on he said 65, 70, 75, 80, originally I thought he was auditioning to be an auctioneer. And when he was confronted and said, why did you say this? Why did you move around so much? Do you know what his glib response was? He said, I didn't think you could handle the truth. He's been watching too many late night movies. Honestly, folks, this is what you've been through. And it went further. We saw law-abiding citizens turned into criminals. We saw heroes from 15 months ago told, if you're not willing to violate your core principles, you are going to lose your job, you're going to lose your profession, you're going to lose your ability to take care of your family. This is not America. This is an impossibility. We are a nation that lives by our own Bible of the Constitution, which was founded on the Bible. We cannot let that go. And then the restrictions took place. It became worse and worse. We were told there'll be no mandates. What do you call it when you tell someone they can't vote? What do you call it when you tell someone they can't go to that building? What do you call it when you tell someone you can't fly? What do you tell a 5-year-old you can't go to school unless you do this? What do you tell a 12-year-old you can't go to school unless you take this vaccine, regardless of whether or not you've had the disease and recovered? The restrictions became, if you will, the canary in the coal mine. We knew then that enough was enough. And as if it wasn't enough, they went to our education system. They told us, we are going to shape the way you think. We're going to tell you what you can think about, what you can chew on, what you can talk about. Social media, yes, it can be a blessing, and it can be a curse, and we've seen it happen. We have seen our education system. This is a system that was founded on the notion that if we had a compulsory education system, we could get rid of illiteracy. We could have a foundational education whereby everybody would have the basics: math, reading, writing, an understanding of history, how our country came to be the country it is. We did not put a compulsory education system into place so that we could indoctrinate our citizens. And yet that's what's happening. When we say that critical race theory is what determines how you turn out in life, all we need to do is step back and say, where did this come from? And it doesn't take a lot of research to figure out that this was something that was founded on principles of Karl Marx a long time ago in terms of trying to create unrest within the classes. It didn't work. So it was retooled, brought forward, and say, okay, we won't say it's based on class, we'll just say it's based on color of skin. Well, why don't you go the next level? Why don't you say what really matters is whether you're Norwegian, Danish, or Swedish? Because I'm all three, and then what would I do? I'd be conflicted. The bottom line is our education system was attacked, and a lot of you folks said enough is enough. You said these words. You said, let them learn, let them play, masks off, health freedom, and I mean it now. But I think you can really recognize that now is the best moment. I think that we all have a certain fearfulness that if we don't do something soon, after 2022's election, the horse may be out of the barn and never get back in. So you're here today, and I thank you for that. And I want to talk to you about what's going to happen in the next 14 months. Unfortunately, we are going to see good people, good nurses, good teachers, good employees, good business people run out of their jobs and run out of their businesses because they are going to stick to their core values. I would like to read something to you, if I could. This was in the Wall Street Journal. John Tierney wrote this. If we had paid attention to history, we would have known that once a disease becomes newsworthy, science gets distorted by researchers, journalists, activists, and politicians eager for attention and power. When AIDS spread among gay men and intravenous drug users 4 decades ago, it became conventional wisdom that the plague would soon devastate the rest of the American population. In 1987, Oprah Winfrey opened her show by announcing, research studies now project that 1 in 5 heterosexuals could be dead of AIDS in the next 3 years. One early alarmist was a man named Anthony Fauci, who made national news in 1983 with an editorial in the Journal of the American Medical Association warning that AIDS could infect even children because of the possibility that routine close contact, as within a family household, can spread the disease. After criticism, Dr. Fauci promptly pivoted 180 degrees, declaring less than 2 months after his piece appeared that it was absolutely preposterous to suggest AIDS could be spread by normal social contact. But other supposed experts went on, warning erroneously that AIDS could spread widely via toilet seats, mosquito bites, and kissing. Then I'd be in trouble. This is what's happened, and we have to do something about it. You know that now is the moment, and I do too. But we've had a problem for more than 20 times in a row when conservatives went forward in a statewide election, we lost. And I want to remind you what a conservative is. The root word is conservare, and it's Latin. And it means to safeguard. It means to safeguard. We want to safeguard our children. We want to safeguard our businesses. We want to safeguard our way of life. But we've been losing over and over again. And I would submit to you, it's because this creation of a political power class isn't doing us good. I think career politicians are not necessarily getting it done. We need to go back to the Founding Fathers' wisdom and say, we need people coming from the communities. We need the citizen legislators. We need the people that still have businesses back home that really understand what you're going through. That's what we need. We do not need more politicians rubbing elbows with important muckety-mucks. We have got to stop it. We need to have someone here that will speak for all of you. We need to realize that if someone's not willing to audit something, they probably don't want accountability. I have asked for audits on death certificates. I have helped with audits in election processes. Why would we not want accountability? Why would we not want integrity? Why would we not want to trust in what we need to have happen? So we need to do something different. We need to expand our reach. We need to remind one another that the place we're in today is not a place we can stay. We've seen what's happening. We've seen the steady encroachments on our liberties. So what we need to do is we need to go to voting blocks that haven't necessarily been with us. We need to tell people involved in agriculture, you need to be with us because we respect the work you do. We know that agriculture is a huge part of our economy. We need to go to multicultural groups and say, you belong with us because you have the same commitment to your faith and your family and to freedom and to your business and to dreams. We need to go to the millennials and the Gen Zs and not talk down to them, but instead say, will you please join us? Will you please help us solve these problems? We need to go to labor and say, let's do 2 things. Let's get that robust economy, and let's make sure we got good paying jobs that can allow someone to sustain the quality of life that they want and to build on their dreams. Those are the things we need to do. And we need to keep you energized because what you're facing today is not going to go away. I would love to promise you secure elections with integrity tomorrow. But honestly, we need you to be election judges. If we're gonna do this, we gotta do this together. And it's all gonna land on one question. One question. Will you join me? Thank you.
Dr. Jensen, please stand for the question of the